everybody. Hi. Welcome to PeakFest 2020 and the first session of our conversation series. My name is Jess Amy Shed. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the digital content producer for PeakFest 2020. Before we get started, we would like to acknowledge where we are. So Impulse Theatre lives and creates on the traditional and unceded territory of the Lekwungen-speaking peoples, now known as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. We have staff members currently in these territories, but also on the unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations. And right now, I'm actually in Campbell River, where I grew up, which is the territory of the Comox and Hamalco nations. And so maybe if you are in a different territory, feel free to enter it into the chat. And of course, we have guests with us from all over the world. So so we want to recognize that the equipment and high-speed internet that's integral to this digital version of PeakFest are not available in many rural, indigenous, or equity-seeking communities. And these technologies also have a significant carbon footprint, contributing to changing climates that disproportionately affect indigenous peoples worldwide. So the access and impact of this digital version of PeakFest are imperfect. Thank you to our funders, the BC Arts Council, the Province of British Columbia, and the City of Victoria. And then a few housekeeping notes. So please don't take any videos, photos, or screenshots of this event without permission of all involved. You may have seen my lights flicker. There's a huge storm here, so the power might go out again. In that case, I will lose internet and disappear, but it should be good. If you would like to ask some questions, you feel free to enter it into the chat, but you'll want to change the little drop-down blue panel there to all panelists and attendees. Then everyone who's attending can see your conversation. And lastly, we are just so excited to have our guests here today for the conversation series. Session 1 with Heather Lindsay. So welcome, and I'll pass it over to you, Heather.
Thank you, Jess. Hi, everybody. I would love to invite my wonderful friends to turn on their microphones and video at this time. I am so excited to test something today. I was really honored that Impulse Theatre reached out and asked if, what excites me right now to share with PeakFest. And something I've been thinking about greatly is I feel very, there's so much going on in everybody's town and country and area where you're living in, but it's also such a great opportunity to stay connected on an international scale and dream and hope and hear the challenges from other artists, other festivals around the world, and seeing how people are adapting, getting creative, if they have work, if they've lost all their work as artists as well, and to just bring us together to sort of really dream and expand. I know I've been really thinking locally, which of course is so important, but it's also really inspiring to hear what is happening around the world. So with that, these three amazing women who are on the Zoom today, Angele, Elaf, and Rosette. And I had the honor to meet them in Valetta, Malta. A year, 2 years now? Oh gosh, a year and a half? Yeah, a year ago. We don't know what time means nothing right now.
Yeah.
But we all of us were lucky enough to we applied and were accepted into the Festival Academy for festival managers and festival directors. Anyone who's involved in executing festivals on any scale. So it wasn't just theater based, it was multidisciplinary film, very like Burning Man style, incorporating science, music festivals, And there was about 40 of us from over 20 countries that gathered in Valetta, Malta, and had the opportunity to share our stories together and our challenges, and talk about art on a global scale, which of course is so different because there's government and political and social bringing people together is very different for every city, every footprint in any town or country. So it was very inspiring. And so I thought I would bring some of those folks who inspired me so much to meet all of you today. And with that said, we will talk a little bit more about the Festival Academy because we really do want to share the information with everyone out there. It's such a great platform to connect with artists on an international scale, and they are doing, Festivals Europe is doing so much right now to connect artists, and there's some pretty fun opportunities. So we want to share those with you. And I will start, how about Angele, with you? Would you like to introduce yourself to the folks?
Hi everyone, I'm very happy to be here. I come from the small island of Malta. The capital city is Valetta, and it's south of Europe and north of Africa, just straight like in the middle. It's got a very rich history, which I won't go into, but we've been independent for the last 50 odd years, something like that. We speak Maltese, so English is my second language. It's an official language, and that's it about Malta. So about me, I work as a creative practitioner. I am a fine artist, and I act. I'm writing my own plays now, and I also present on TV and radio. It's very diverse what I do. I teach the subjects, and I teach piano. I compose. But as you can see, this is the way I survive as a creative practitioner here, because like many places around the world, artists aren't paid as well. They're not essential, and so I had to garner a lot of different skills to be able to do art as my job. In the beginning of the pandemic, I was still teaching piano. I taught at my parents' house because that way they could take care of my two children, and while teaching, and I could get to visit my parents. But since they're both elderly, I stopped teaching. So my income went down to zero completely because film auditions stopped, and theater work stopped. Everything stopped. So that was quite a big shock. But at the same time, I appreciated the quiet for that, for the while that it started, that just stop and look out. Most of my friends, my theater friends, started sharing their work. They started doing stuff online, but I felt at that time that I really needed to just listen and have some time to breathe. Being a mother of two children and trying to, my husband and I, we have a theater company, so we're always on the go, producing our own work, and so doing things basically. We really appreciated the time, to sit down at a dinner table and listen to our children. So that was fun. And then months started rolling by, so we started accepting these little commissions, and one of the first ones to come in was an online play written as because of an emergency fund that the government offered, and a friend of ours had written it, and so they my husband was, so it was a one-man show which we did in our kitchen. So it was about this very religious man. Malta is still quite Catholic, Roman Catholic, and And this guy was really fixated against anything that is modern. Like the Pope for him is too modern, too accepting, and so and he went through all of, it's like in summa his own ideas. But what was interesting was, so it was on Zoom, and we could see the audience like this, like we're here. And for a while, we left them with the mics on. But Zoom is not a platform for performing. So if like a grandfather clock went on in one of the audience members, it completely shut off the performance sound. So then we stopped everything, the sound of the everybody, and we let the performance go, and then we heard people speak. And one of their concerns was very interesting. They were asking whether theater is over, whether there was any scope of having any reason for having theater anymore. Was this going to take over theater? And for me, it was very interesting to follow, because like when the telephones were invented and radios were invented and TVs were invented, none of the other genres or methods, were, you're just adding more ways of communicating. And this is great, because like I can see Heather now after a year and a half, and I'm talking to her, and it's so brilliant. You just do it differently and add on to what's already been done. So that's me.
Thank you, Angele. Thank you so much. Elaf, why don't we go to you? Where
Okay.
are you right now?
Now I'm in Egypt. Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here with you. Now I am in Egypt, but my name is Elaf Alkanzy. I am from Sudan. I live in Khartoum, the capital of Sudan. Actually, I lived in many countries, in Saudi Arabia, and then United Arab Emirates, and then I studied the university in Cairo. And now, final destination is Khartoum, Sudan. I'm working as executive director in Sudan Film Factory. Sudan Film Factory is a Sudanese platform working in film field, film and cinema. We learning youth people the cinema and filmmaking, the process of cinema and filmmaking, and we help other filmmakers to make their films. We work as a production company and co-production company. We try to the Sudan Film Factory established in, I think, 2010, before 10 years. And we work in this field before the revolution of the Sudan. I'm not sure if you know that a big revolution happened in Sudan in last December, and now we are working in like a framework. Before we worked as in the executive side from filmmaking and cinema, in workshop and productions and festival, Sudan Independent Film Festival. It's an annual event for 7 days. We screen in this festival yearly different films from around the world, and we present two gifts. The Black Elephant. The two gifts is for the best Sudanese films. That's before the revolution. After the revolution, now in this year, we're working in a framework related to cultural policies and cultural management, and to reset up to help the Ministry of Culture to reset up the laws. This kind of work. So yeah, that's all.
Elaf, can you share a bit of insight to the revolution? It was, I know because we're friends on Facebook, I was able to follow you and learn more about the revolution through following you on Facebook than I learned in the news here. How did that impact you in Khartoum? and the citizens there?
Actually, it's this revolution. It comes after 30 years of a very hard situation economically and politically. Uh, it really was a very hard period before the revolution. So the Sudanese people feels like fed up from this government, and this time to take this government out. They go out to the street in December 2018 or 2019, sorry.
2019,
In
yeah.
April, in April, the Omar al-Bashir, the past president of the Sudan, take them out, and then the very big event happens when the police, the Sudanese police, break up the sit-in. So it was a huge event, and after that the country was locked down totally, and until now the life until the now we say that we are in the democracy period, but still because the pandemic and COVID-19 after there are 2 years. It was really 2 difficult years for the Sudanese people. Now we believe that everything will come better and slowly, especially after American the American governments decide to to remove the economical sanctions. We feel is everything will go better and best.
Yes, it's getting better and better. Thank you for sharing that. Great. Well, I would love to now introduce and invite Rosette to introduce herself, coming from us from Uganda. Where in Uganda are you, Rosette? Oh, and your microphone is off. And while Rosette is turning her microphone on, I'll remind everyone that
doing it again, eh?
yeah. But in Uganda and Sudan specifically, like internet is we might be dropping off of the internet here, all of us. So we'll all just come back on. And of course, I think we all understand that in the Zoom world these days. Rosette, hello, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm from Kampala, Uganda, and Uganda is located in the eastern part of Africa, and it's known as the Pearl of Africa. I'm a festival and arts manager based in Kampala, and I've been working for the biggest arts organization in Uganda and festival, and also within East Africa. And I have managed and produced festivals for the Baimba Foundation, which include the Doa Doa, which is a performing arts market, the Baimba International Festival of the Arts, the Kampala International Theatre Festival, and the Amakula Film Festival. As a former director of the Baimba Academy, I've also worked on several trainings with artists, mentorship and trainings with artists, which are both local and international, and working with institutes that are outside Kampala. I am also a writer, a poet, and I really enjoy putting things together, planning and coordinating and mentorship of artists. So that's why I got into arts management, to be able to continue with that passion. Currently, how things are in Kampala, the pandemic led to the close of most of the activities that we had, and public gatherings were banned, so we had to stay home. And also
Oh, taking a break from Rosette right now. While Rosette comes back on eventually, I will, oh, there you
I
are,
think
go
she's
ahead.
here now.
Yeah, great.
Yes, I was saying that for around 1 month, we were not able to move around the area because public transport was banned. And after they lifted the ban of transportation, there was an increase of transportation. So the transport fares increased to double the price, and also the food increased to double the price. And most of the artists actually do not have work because we cannot meet. Most of our activities are done by public meeting. And as you see, I have a challenge with internet. It's difficult to use internet all the time or to use it to produce work because it's unstable and it's of low quality. So those are some of the challenges that we're facing on this side of our world. It's an opportunity to be able to interact with other people across the country, but it comes at a price of are you able to afford it? So you have to find ways of being able to afford it, and also find ways of being able to get a device to use it. Yeah, and we are also in a season of elections. So we are having several campaigns that are going on. So the campaigns have also been a means where the government does not want people to meet in big numbers. So for us who are into public gatherings, it is a disadvantage because we have to actually wait after the elections for some bans to be lifted, for us to meet more than
I think it's interesting, and I think we all talk about that as well, is government influence, especially for every country. Rosette, can you talk a bit more about, I guess all of us can dive into that, of the government influence. We, in Canada, we've received, what they call COVID relief funding to some companies, but it doesn't really span out to individual artists necessarily. And then the impact on government of your election right now. How is government impacting art locally right now?
We're in a situation where arts practitioners have actually increasingly gotten engaged in and are interested and are campaigning actively in the elections. So that has sparked the government to infringe on artistic expression because more people in the arts are participating. So when you're participating, you end up using your art form, for instance, songs, skits, and this has also led to an increased scenario where there's online censorship of what you put online. And there's a law that has been passed where you have to, anything that you publish online has to be licensed. And then some comedians posted a skit in July that was hinting at the government government having a lot of nepotism, and they were arrested and they were charged for promoting sectarianism and hatred. So in terms of artistic expression, it puts you at a vulnerable position where you have to be careful what content you're sharing. And it also is a limitation of how much content you can share. And in terms of support, because the arts sector in Uganda is very fragmented, we have several ministries. Under the Uganda Communications Commission, then others are under the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquity, then others are under the Ministry of Gender. So when funds come in, they go to those ministries and they are dwindled. And the ministry which is supposed to, which is mandated to cover the arts, Ministry of Gender, ends up getting very little money. So in the end, they cannot, the money they receive is not able to reach out to artists. It's actually having to do the programs that they have. So with government funding, because of the lack of consolidated, a consolidated structure of the arts, there's hardly any funding. Yeah.
Great. I just have my video off right now to just try to help with internet right now. Thank you, Rosette. Elaf, how does the government, and especially with the revolution, how did that impact the local artists? And then also on top of that, as you're film-based during COVID, have you been able to move online a lot easier, or are there government implications with that as well?
Actually, it seems like we can work in a very easy and comfortable environment, not like the past situation. But until now, as I mentioned before, until now we cannot testing the new situation in real work on the ground. That's because the pandemic now after the revolution, the year after the revolution, it was horrible. Everything is destroyed. People trying to take a breath after the revolution. So we can't do any kind of activities. That's mean the on ground activities. So the only thing we did, the sixth edition of Sudan Independent Film Festival. It was in January. It goes in a very easy way. There are many kind of difficulties that we faced in the past. We didn't face it in the last edition. We believe that the things, it will come easier because there is a different things happened in cultural field. The Ministry of Culture working in different laws, helping in filming and helping the artists in filming and doing the playing like music or theater. So yeah, I think next year will be easier than the past years.
Are you planning to have your festival in January?
Yes, but we are not sure if we can do it on the ground. We're thinking in the different plan, like working as online. But the internet situation in Sudan, the audience, they can't join us online because, as Rosette said, the internet connection is not stable, and yeah, until now we can't use. If I am in Sudan, I can't use Zoom because there is a sanctions. Is still the sanctions happen. So yeah, we can't use these online platforms. to screening the movies or to make meetings. So we are not sure if we can do it in January, but now we try to do this, but we don't know if we'll do it or not.
I think that's a question for everyone right now, as well as, of course, with income and the levels of income for everyone in their cities. Elaf, I remember you telling a really beautiful story of, we were talking about how we bring art right into the city, and you shared a story and some really beautiful photos of bringing a film right to a train station. And that really, I still remember that, because those were the ways that, you know, it's accessible, and everyone deserves art and culture and seeing themselves represented in film and having a voice. And that was a really great way that people who are at a lower income level or in poverty are still able to witness some really beautiful artwork. And how do we
actually?
Yeah.
Sorry, Heather, I want to say this. In one of our festival, the opening ceremony was in the bridge, the old bridge in Sudan. And after 2 years, the revolution was in the same bridge.
Wow.
So, yeah. After 2 years from this edition, or 1 year, the next year of this edition, the revolution was in the same bridge, in the way to the sit-in. So, art can do possibles.
Yeah. How do we keep bringing in the pandemic art to people who are with less income or in poverty? How do we reach them? I know, Angele, you told us that all of the festivals in Malta are free. Is that still happening?
Yes. With my particular festival, it is European funded. So in Europe, it's called European Researchers Night. So it happens in over 300 cities around Europe. And so we make sure that the events are free for anyone to enjoy them. And the idea is, from Europe, to show that research and science is for everyone. The knowledge is there to be shared and to empower people. In fact, this year, the theme for the festival is Empower, Engage, and Enable. Because I had mentioned in when we met in Valetta, we had a journalist who was killed because of investigations that she was, because of corruption that she was reporting. And a year ago, there were a lot of protests here in Malta, and our prime minister had to resign his chief of staff and many high-powered people locally. And so we decided that in that atmosphere, the platform that we have access to should give knowledge, information to people to help them feel like they can do something, because we were feeling like so overwhelmed by everything that's happening around us that we wanted to give our audiences tools to become engaged citizens, empowered. And we're part of Europe, so this is very scandalous, I feel, to have such things happening in a civilized country. So we're working on that, and we're giving people the chance to talk back to discuss with us. So after each event, we are opening it, so it's all free, but also the experts, the researchers who are actually promoting well-being here locally, or with whatever to enhance the lives of our citizens. They're there to listen to the people, to communicate, so that not only they present their research, but to get questions and to continue educating. And I feel that that's the way forward. Education. We really need to make sure that we vote well. We do not tolerate injustices, nepotism. You know, corruption is very very unhealthy, and it destroys the country and destroys its reputation, and then obviously the people suffer. And we have been seeing lately a rise in poverty levels and more people without a house. So these things they have a ripple effect, and it's very very sad, because then artists are the ones that start being axed and not having access to anything. But they are also, this is also a ripe environment for artists to speak up, to talk. It's a good environment for them to be, how do you say it, inspired to talk about what they're suffering, what they're going through, and to present it and be the voice of the people who are going into this poverty level.
Yeah, and artists, I think that's something why I feel festivals are so important, and why we all came together and met, is because we're giving platforms and working hard to give artists platforms to have freedom of expression, freedom of voice against political, against social, against environment. The voice of the now, I call it, of art, like what artists are thinking now is quite a representation on the areas of which we are in, the footprint of our city. And Rosette, if you are there, I'm really curious at the fear. Is there fear in artists, as you've been talking about? An artist is posting online right now in Uganda and getting arrested. How do artists negotiate having freedom of expression? That's a big question, I know.
Yes, it's a very big question, but I don't think in Uganda it's not only artists who do not have the freedom of expression. Right. So it's the whole country struggling to find a way to express their frustration and their need for change. So collectively, people are pushing for human rights to be respected. And when they were arrested, there was an uproar, not just from the artists, but from different sectors in the community, speaking about the freedom of expression and the liberty to be able to say something, and also the liberty to be able to say something that will bring about change. Because several of the expressions affect the country politically, when it's going to be a process and take time for change to happen. But I feel it's something that cannot be done by one individual. It has to be a collective voice of people from different sectors standing up and negotiating better laws that actually protect the rights, because sometimes they can use the law against you. So several artists and the National Cultural Forum, they're pushing to see that policies. This whole year they've been working on changing the 2016 cultural policy for artists to become more relevant to the artists, because it's based on the colonials, what the colonization process gave us, and it's not relevant to what is needed right now. So one of the things that has been happening this current year is the opportunity to push for amendments of the policies, not only cultural policies, but we also have issues with the education sector, which also affects the performing arts and the arts industry, because if we don't have, if the government or in secondary schools and primary schools, we don't have any curriculum that is geared towards arts education, then we can't build a younger audience for the arts. So there's also been a rollout of the old curriculum, and artists are getting more involved and pushing and asking that we want to get involved in changing the curriculum.
Oh, there she is. I knew if I just took a breath.
So even in the curriculum development, artists are pushing to get involved, to change the structures, to be able to make them more sustainable for the future. And we actually, in Uganda, when the pandemic took place, schools were closed, and up to now, schools are still closed. So for most of the, aside from S4 and S6, other S4 candidate classes, that is P7, S4, S6, and maybe university of finalists, most people have had to register a dead year. So that is also, it's a big challenge how we are going to step back into the education system for the following year, but it's also an opportunity for artists to see how they can bring a solution to the problem that is available, because it's an opportunity for artists to produce work in terms of animation, in terms of video recording for the education sector. So I find that the pandemic has posed challenges, but also brought opportunities to think deeper and go beyond only producing art for the arts community, and producing art that brings solution within your community, and diversifying your income to get into other sectors. That also led me as an individual to write one of the works that I'm doing, or where I'm part-timing. I've ventured into the private sector, and I'm part-timing with producing business events with an organization called Billionaire Bond that puts up business events in Kampala. It's a new it's a new platform that is looking at bringing solutions to businesses that are suffering.
Yeah, I think it's, oh, is she back?
Creating synergies to provide solutions.
Once Heather talk, Rosette back.
It's true. Once I talk, Rosette, you come back. It's just I wait, and then I speak, and then you're there. It's the trick. It's the comedy. It's the comedy.
Yeah.
The internet obeys your voice.
Who knew I was so strong? And Rosette, so you now have part-time work in the private sector, of course, because you were saying there's not a lot of work for artists right now, but also that bus fare and food have both doubled. That it's also not giving people a lot of opportunity, but to be desperate in finding more work as well, because everything is now more expensive for you as well. That's not an easy journey.
It's not an easy journey, but it's pushing you to get out of your comfort zone and look for other opportunities and provide solutions. So you can't sit down and say, okay, I'm totally defeated. You have to think and say, what do I do? How can I make it work if this is not working?
Yeah.
Are you writing?
What else do I do? Who do I speak to?
Are you writing
Yes,
poetry?
yes, I am writing poetry. It's also given me time to breathe back, because I for the previous years I've been on a go. But now you have more time to do other things. I'm writing poetry and also doing some creative visual arts that with letters that I've not been able to do in years. And also, I think it's given me time to think about where do I want to go next. I've been an arts administrator and manager, but I've not really gotten into producing. So I'm now thinking, how do I push myself to look at producing other people's works independently, and also producing my own works, and also connecting the arts, since I'm in the business sector, connecting the arts with the business sector to create relevance and more work, and also to let the business sector know that there are people in our creative sectors that also have solutions for them. Yeah.
That's really inspiring. I think that is the question. Where do we go from here? What can we use as inspiration instead of barricades or blocks? And I think that's something very artistic. It's an artistic approach, is to keep imagining what possibilities are there in front of us right now. And Elaf, I was wondering with yourself, how many people are with the film factory? Is it a full-time job, or do you have a team of people who work all year to put this on?
Nowadays we have a team working as by project. If we have a project, a workshop, or a festival or something, and nowadays, because after the pandemic, the money resources was, after the revolution, the resources was became rare resources. So we changed the system of the management of the film factory. So now in the film factory we work, me and the director, his name is Talal Afifi. Me and Talal Afifi, we still working in the film factory. But if we have any project or something like that, we have a network. So we choose the people from this network, and we work together. Because now the financial situation, it's a little bit weak, so we can't employ the full-time job employee. So and also we work as volunteering in this period until we get any fund, or we work in business productions or something like that.
Mm-hmm. And do artists normally apply to your festival? Do they submit their films, or do you commission them?
We do both. We open the call for the international and Sudanese film to submit, and also we invite films. So we do the both. We invite the films, or we open the submission. And the last year we got around 400 films. So it was a huge, and the selection committee choose 60 films from this the 400. And and also we invite
all Sudanese filmmakers. Are they from out of Sudan?
No, from around the world. from around the world, Sudanese and other countries. Also, but we can until now we cannot invite the filmmakers to come to Sudan because the high rate of the tickets and we help if any director or filmmaker want to come, we help him in or her in doing their stuff, like uh, maybe if they need any recommendation for hotels or something like that, we do it. But we can't offer uh, the the chance to for or the opportunity for all filmmakers to come to Sudan. But we in I think in next year maybe this came easier because if there is no sanction, so there is a direct traveling, a direct airplanes from Sudan to other countries. So the ticket became in a lower price. So yeah, we think. We believe that coming days having a lot to us.
Yes. And Angele, you were talking about the play that you wrote, and I remember that when we were all together in person, you talked very deeply about prostitution and feminism in Malta, and levels of income as well, poverty. How did that? So, were you able to produce the play?
Yes,
Did
yes.
that? When did that happen?
Yes. That happened October 2019. That was my first script. I had wanted to write it for a long time because my mother had been teaching children of women in prostitution. And then as a teacher myself, I came across these children. And so I needed to speak about it. And as a Roman Catholic country, they tend to hide these things from being discussed very openly, or else sensationalize it and put the woman in on the spotlight, just for, they're trying to do, I feel like they're trying to emulate on TV, like some American TV show, where we're sensationalizing it, whereas I wanted to show it in its all its crudeness and in all the heartache, and bring the human side of the women and the men and the children. So that went well, as in I wanted to portray how it could have been any of us. We're just blessed to not have been in such a dire situation when we were born, but these women are, because the women I researched on were born into families of prostitutes locally. So, and I wanted to talk about their mental well-being, suicide rate, drug abuse, missed opportunities. In Malta, we offer free education up to university level. So there is social mobility, but these people fall from the social net, they actually don't manage to finish schooling. So I wanted to speak about that. And after each performance, I used to come out and talk to the audience. And because right now there's prostitution is legal, but only the prostitute is legal. But they're still taken to court and charged for loitering. But the government is investing in wants to legalize everything: the prostitution, the pimp. They want. I'm sorry, the cat just wants to say hi.
That's okay. The cat is welcome here. The cat is welcome. But that's great. And I mean, how is that impactful for the city? Because I know
want to legalize.
That's great. Yeah, I know you
They want to.
Go ahead.
I wanted to create this discussion. Sorry. I wanted to create this discussion because they want to legalize everything and turn us into a hub of sex tourism here.
I see what you're saying.
And as a small country, as a small independent country, we tend to we have to be very careful what we invest in, and there's been some dodgy things happening, like selling of passports, and this is another thing that's scaring us. And they are trying to equate they're trying to disattach the prostitution with trafficking, and we already have trafficked people here already anyway. But what I enjoyed most as an artist was being able to talk to my audience after the performance and hear them out, and after showing them the crudeness. This is not a pretty woman situation. This is, people are actually suffering. People are actually killing themselves because it affects your being used and abused. And one of the things that really hit me when I was talking to women in prostitution was, one woman told me, they treat you like toilet paper. That's it. You're as valuable as a piece of toilet paper. You're used and discarded. And anyway, from then I met this group of 40 NGOs, local and international, and we were meeting policymakers in Parliament to try and showcase our side of this argument. And now everything seems to be halted. Like I said, Prime Minister had to resign, and all of this is happening here. And so what I'm trying to do is find some funds for women locally to get trained in public speaking, so that I want to give women here the tool, the ability to self-represent. So whether it is, in this case, women in underprivileged conditions, or whether it's a woman who is from a higher status, but she's held back because she doesn't know how to present herself. I want to make sure that I found trained people, and I'm trying to organize some funds to present this, again, free of charge, to empower. So that's the way I try to use my experience to educate.
Do you think you would have been able to do this? I know you're saying with the new government, and a year ago when the journalist was murdered in a horrible, as I remember, the newspaper was going between, it was bombed. An act, she was bombed. And yes, do you think that in her car, it was absolutely horrific. But with the new government now, do you feel more empowered to have a voice? It's the same government. Oh my gosh. Same government.
Yes, and he said it's a continuity. So it's very heartbreaking, actually, because it is a continuity, and things are not really being dealt properly. So I still try and work. I still share online my views, because I cannot not. I mean, I cannot be a responsible citizen and artist and not say exactly how I feel, but I have missed work. I have been told, we're not choosing you particularly because you post online my views. I mean, any decent person would not agree to something like this, obviously. So, yeah. But they do tell you outright, it's because you post online against this, which is This
Yeah.
is not even artist or anything. This is just human being.
Human beings having the right to have a voice, yeah, and care. Rosette and
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Elaf, Elaf, do you, as being the executive director of running of the Film Factory and the Independent Film Festival, as a woman, do you have, and Rosette as well, is there, as being a woman in a managerial position or leading an arts company and supporting artists, do you find any, do you have to keep fighting for your voice in the room?
I think I'm lucky woman because I'm working. My team in a work is a very open mind, so they know that there are no problems if the guide of the the boat is a woman, and they believe what I thought, what I decided, or what I say. But sometimes in past years, I when I need to do any governmental work, actually I prefer if any man can go to do this than me, because if I go to the man in this governmental ministry or office or anything and ask for any kind of permissions or anything, I feel like you are not welcome, and we don't do this for women, and we don't talk to the women, and blah blah blah. But this situation is very it's totally changed after the revolution, after the new government. They look to the women as one of the power in the community, and it's a very strong side. And uh, in the new council, in the new council, yeah, it was the I think there are 6 members or 4 members, and two of them or three of them are women. So yeah, I think this site is became change after the revolution, and women have more chance to be in government and to be in a very sensitive positions. So yeah, it was difficult to be a woman in this field, and in many times I fight to take things or to make decisions. But now, no, it's more easy, and it's more welcome.
It's amazing how, well, it's not shocking, but government influence impacts all of us greatly, every citizen, every artist, and especially, being in Canada right now with the USA, the United States election. That's I'm watching something really unravel, and of course Canada in itself. I won't go into that too much more because I want to highlight you. And the folks watching, of course, are Canadian and know our government and the United States. And I don't think we're just going to take a break from the United States right now. But Rosette, how is having your female voice, your strong, empowered, artistic voice as a poet and as an educator and manager? How are you finding being an artist as a woman in Kampala?
I found that as a woman, I've had to work extra hard, and it's an advantage for me because I have to be excellent at what I do. I can't be mediocre, and I have to inspire other people. It has been difficult because you find it hard to find fellow female mentors. Sometimes in the community or the ecosystem, you find that it's the women who mistreat you. So I personally used that to be able to channel it to help others. I decided that I will be very excellent at what I do, and I didn't want them to look at me as a weak gender, but to look at me as the contributing and nourishing.
Should I
Yeah.
speak again and Rosette will come back? Well, I think like all of this, I mean, you are three amazing women who, oh, you're back. See, I talked, you're back.
I was saying that I actually do it to inspire other women, and not only women, to inspire the arts in Uganda to be excellent at what we do, irrespective of gender. If you're gifted, if you are a musician and you're gifted and you're female, you're gifted. It doesn't matter if you're female or male, whatever your gender is. The issue is work at your skill, give it your best, and the rest will work out. So I think in all sectors, women face challenges, but in all sectors, we have the opportunity to shine and create a different world and influence the world that is around us. For me, I see it as an opportunity and an advantage to be that. Yeah.
And I think when we are gathering together as well, and you're talking about, you know, inspiring each other, that was one of the greatest things that from us at the Festival Academy together, was that we were able to gain inspiration from all of our experiences as festival leaders, festival managers, and artists in our own right. I think there's an opportunity right now, especially. I know it's unfortunate and, you know, it's not equitable about the way we can communicate online with people's internet connection, and that like I know Rosette has to pay a lot more money to be on the internet than we do right now, and it's also government regulated. They watch, but we can band together on an international scale right now. So I guess my question to you all is, are you seeking opportunities internationally, or creative opportunities to learn from each other and inspire? Sort of what's next in the realm of the internet and connecting artists and citizens?
So your question is how we are collaborating, if we're seeking to collaborate with others.
Yeah. Are you dreaming about that right now? I guess it's sort of like going into, you know, what does a festival mean right now? And we're passionate about bringing people together. So how do we do that right now, and to keep creativity thriving?
So at the moment, I'll start talking about my work with the Festival Academy. I'm trying to help them organize these monthly talks, because I really believe that now is the time to come together as a world, because we are going through difficulties in different levels the world over because of the pandemic, but soon will be more urgently because of the environmental issues that we'll all be facing.
Yeah.
So I really believe in this conversation, and there is no one better to communicate than artists. You can see it in the history of humans. Artists have been used to influence people. And so now's the time for us to come together with the researchers. I mean, I know it's my background and what I work with, but I really believe that with the knowledge that's gathered from science and from research, and if we give that information to the artists and they bring it to the people in an engaging and simple way that people can assimilate it and understand it, will understand the urgency. Because if we're not careful, we won't have a future. And now's the time for platforms like festivals to voice this worry, to listen out to people's needs. I have a friend from the Philippines. She was worried because they just had a huge flood, and she couldn't get hold of her family because their house was flooded up to the second floor, and it's happening too often. And why should a person in the Philippines suffer that because someone in America wants to dig in, for more oil and become richer? These very few people are ruining it for everybody else. That is unfair. And I feel that together we can make a difference. We're 7 billion. They're very small. They're a tiny percentage of 7 billion. If we all come together and put our foot down and say, no, I'm sorry, this is unacceptable. We want a future for our children or for ourselves. I think will make a difference, and festivals are a very good platform to bring people together. And now is the time to do it. In 20 years' time, it will be too late.
So as they're saying right now, our festival's over. Is theater over? It just feels more important than ever to engage, to try to keep gathering. And I know we're all on a wave of feeling really tired and emotional through the pandemic this year. But it is true. There's power in having a profound experience with a stranger, and then having a conversation with them because of something you witnessed that an artist said or did, or the way they express themselves. And I mean, I know that's why we're all in festivals and art, because we see that, and we see how powerful expression and voice and artistry can be, and also bringing our community together to engage with each other and open up conversations. So how do we keep doing it? How does Science in the City and how does the film festival keep going? And where do we need to pivot right now?
At the moment, how I'm seeing it. Sorry, please go ahead.
No, just I want to say that in this situation, we are really trying to do things online to make these filmmakers to make it together. We make an online screening for filmmaking, Sudanese filmmakers, Sudanese films in different platform. One of them is the Goethe Institute page. So if we make, we feel the difference because if we make this screening on the ground, it's a very unique things to watch a film on cinema or on any kind of theater, and to sit on the set and to watch the film with others. But still the sharing of the film, it's limited with those people in the hall. But when we put the films online, there were different people from different cities and countries. They can't watch these movies. So I think the online platforms, and this the new wave of the connection, open the opportunity more and more to each other to know more about the Sudanese filmmakers. And now we help in create a national committee to select the Sudanese film in Oscar. So this is it was one day before it was a first time that Sudan select the film to be in an Oscar. So I think these days is it's helped us to be on, or to be on a map, or to Sudan be on this movement, or this cinema movement.
if we share, like, so if I'm in Victoria in Canada, and I want to watch films, do you think, is there a language barrier? Are the films subtitled or captioned? Do we have that?
Subtitle, much films are subtitles.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of films, are subtitles. Yeah, if you are in Victoria in Canada, you can watch film making one of town in Sudan online.
And I think it's such I think it's such a great opportunity as well, because it's you know, something that I don't personally have a lot of insight is Sudanese culture and or like contemporary culture in Khartoum and Kampala and Valetta. So it's a really good way right now for us to learn what artists
I think
are saying.
it's open doors for others to see what happened in different countries.
Yeah. And I mean, you're on a film base, so it makes sense that you're online and can do that. But in theater and festivals, Rosette with the Baimba Foundation and the festivals like the Kampala International Performing Arts Festival and other festivals in Uganda, do you think that theater festivals and performance festivals will be able to go online? Is there such an opportunity?
I actually been working with the Tevere Arts Festival that is a partner with Baimba on putting together the Kampala International Theatre Festival. And before the pandemic happened, we planned to have we had a residency, and the output was having 3 playwrights have their stage reading after the residency. But then when the pandemic happened, we could not have the physical stage reading. So what we decided to do is to discuss with the artists about the option of having it online and what we could do. So each artist had their own way of presenting it online because of the internet and also the devices and also the format of their play. One was an adaptation of a story, the other was a complete play, and the other playwright has the experience of film and theater. So for him, he was willing to experiment much more. So each one of them was able to present the stage reading on Zoom differently. It was an experiment. We had issues with the internet, but I was very happy with the outcome because it pushed the artists to think and say, okay, what do we do? So one of the plays was a solo performance. So the advantage with that is the actress, the director was the husband, but the disadvantage was the husband had traveled to Kenya and the wife was in Uganda. So they could not travel within that period. He could not travel back to Uganda. So he was forced to have rehearsals with the wife online. So they had to discuss, okay, how do I act? What do I do? And the advantage with the actress, she's both a film actress and a theater actress. So she had with theater, it's your the screen limits your movements. So she had to find a way of creatively using her body language to communicate the storytelling. So they had to discuss what do we do? Do you use the glass? Do you use this? And it came out well. But that was what we decided.
I just try to wait. I wait.
Yes. So we decided to have it pre-recorded, so it was screened and then people watched it.
Right.
And then another group decided to risk it and have it as a live Zoom performance. So, and then the actors didn't have laptops, so they were using their phones.
Yeah.
So you have actors in different parts of the city, the director in another different part of the city, the arts administrators, the coordinators also in a different part of the city. So we have people in Kenya, we have people in Kampala, but different parts of the city. But then they found a way of positioning their phones and acting. Sometimes it would freeze, and then the director would have to was the stand-in for both sides. So when one actor could not appear, the director had to now do the reading and act. So that is what they planned to do, but it came out nicely. Then the third playwright, he decided to take snapshots to give each actor to act on their screen, to record their acting and pause, and then he began patching up the different narratives of the actors. I found that very interesting, and he put it together like a theater but film production online. So we didn't invite so many people because it was the first stage reading, and they wanted feedback on how they need to improve their works. But everyone who attended was like, I was scared of what would happen, but this is actually an interesting experiment that you can actually bring theater online and do it creatively. And all these people were able to do it in a week's, they only had a week's period to come up with all this. And what I love about
it sounds, I love it as well because it sounds familiar. It's refreshing to know that we're all trying different ways to create theater.
Yes. So I think it's an opportunity, but it also takes courage to do some things and to experiment. And this process helped me become a better manager, because usually you plan something and you're like, okay, now I'm planning for the artists, and you're not talking to the artist. But this time round, we had to talk to the artist. We had to discuss. We had to say, this is not working, this is working. And I found that to be a good way of handling things and finding better solutions for the future. I think there are possibilities online, but you have to think about how you can do it and with what.
Yeah. And is anyone doing small audiences? I know in our theater, it used to be 200 seats, but now we've changed all the seating to make it 40 seats spaced out. Is anyone doing outside theater or site-specific work, or is anything happening in the streets?
Yeah. In Valetta in summer, we had so reduced seating and very spaced out, like every 2 or 3, then there's a big space, and we were next to the sea. But now at the National Theatre, they just had like a walkthrough performance where each actor was doing a monologue with for an audience of 6, which is the maximum that can gather at the moment in Malta. But mostly online. So like the whole festival will be moderated from a studio, presented from a studio, and then most of the activities are pre-recorded. So most of our productions, my husband and my company, we're doing 4 productions. They're pre-recorded, 3 of them, but my husband is doing a monologue in a theater for a very reduced audience, and then he's giving the recording of it to the festival to showcase online.
Right.
So it's a hybrid almost, you know, just this one performance is live from another studio. They also are doing this engaging when you the audience directs the actor to move using a camera, either a mobile phone or a small camera here, and you direct the actor who to talk to and what to do, kind of like a game, video game kind of thing. So they're experimenting like that. But
Elaf, is anything happening on the streets in Sudan, or I guess in Egypt where you are? Are artists doing tiny little performances live? Oh, I think Elaf is maybe I should just start speaking in Elaf. Will be unfrozen soon. But Rosette, is anyone doing small performances in person and not online? Is there anything happening?
Small performances cannot happen outside a space because of the election period.
Oh, right.
It's not advisable, but what people have opted to do, especially the comedians, is do mini skits, record them, and then share them on YouTube, WhatsApp, for people to view them. So because of the political environment, it's not favorable to do things on the streets. The police may think you are causing some chaos. So for the safety of the people around, not yet.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like we're all adapting and creating new opportunities and trying to give artists new opportunities and support in the best way that we can. I know how quickly the hour turns up. I feel like I could talk to you for another hour, no problem, and just talk about art and life and our hopes and dreams. But I forgot to say it at the beginning, but if anyone has any questions or comments, please do throw them in. But also, we will showcase Elaf and Rosette and Angele's festivals and the art that they do in an e-news, or some way we'll get out information so you can experience what they're doing online. And it's a really incredible insight because we, culturally, we come at it from different perspectives in the different countries that we're in. And I just find it so inspiring to hear us all talk quite similarly of how we're all adapting, but with, very different things that impact us, especially from political barriers to social barriers to income barriers. But in the end, we're still all trying to, and artists are still all trying to have a voice and inspire people or stir people up. I guess to start to close this wonderful conversation, I would just like to say thank you all so much. We created, Rosette, I forget what it's called, the Six Some Fest. Is that right?
Yeah, the Six Some Festival.
So I would just like to say, so everyone knows, we created the most amazing, so we were a group together and created a whole new festival model. So hopefully right now, while we all have time, it's about creating new models and festival ideas and artistic opportunities. But we had created a model where it could be in Victoria while Malta was preparing. And I think like Uganda would be here, and we traveled it around to all of our countries. And it was brilliant, I think.
Yeah.
and then COVID.
It was brilliant, and we've been able to do it online.
And we can do, yes, actually. Yeah. You're right. Actually, we can do it online. It would have been way too expensive to ever do it. It would take a long time to be able to do it. But actually, we should. Okay, well, I'm gonna stick to that. And if you all and our friend Min from Seoul, from South Korea. She was a part of our group, and Matteo from Italy.
Italy.
Yeah, so that was our group. So maybe here today we can think of some way to pass around our artistic voices to each other's cities and countries. How about that? Okay, good. Well, I will close this down. Is there a final thing you would like to say about just life or art?
Stay in touch, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, be in touch.
Stay in
I would
touch.
like to read a poem.
I thought,
If that
Yes,
is
please.
yes.
Yes, please.
I was hoping you were going to say that. Yes, please, Rosette. We will close this down with the wonderful artist, Rosette.
Okay, the poem is.
I will turn off my screen, so.
I cannot change what the past or history has done to me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
We just turned off our video, so we're trying to save the internet in some way. Go
Okay.
ahead, Rosette.
So the poem is called Courage. I cannot change what the past or history has done to me, but I have the power to shape and change my today and future. I have resolved to quit complaining and use that energy to pull down the strongholds in my own mind that I have nothing to contribute, while letting others decide my own future or destiny for me. I choose to be courageous and make the necessary steps to those changes. I choose to question myself and break discover and fulfill my purpose. I will influence those around me to fulfill their own purpose, and collectively we will build and make our communities better. Yeah, that's the end of the poem.
Thank you, Rosette. That's very beautiful.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for sharing your voice. Thank you all for sharing your voice and introducing yourself to Victoria. And goodbye, everyone. Jess, do we just wave goodbye, or do we blow kisses? Or
Thank you so much for joining us. It's just been really, really special. And yeah, anybody who's listening, just please join us again tomorrow if you can. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we'll have another session with 2 different guests. And then we have the 2 shows on the weekend as the rest of PeakFest. So join us again.
We might have a secret 3rd guest for tomorrow, because as I was talking about Min, it's again a language barrier. Min at first was not very comfortable in speaking English, but Fuyuko, who will be on the call from Tokyo tomorrow, who's an amazing dance artist, she now has started texting Min until Min decides to do the Zoom with us. So Fuyuko is saying, face your fears, face your fears. So Min might join us. She runs the Seoul Fringe Festival in Seoul, which is amazing. So tomorrow we'll be with Erica McCallum from Darwin, Australia, an amazing creator, producer, and Fuyuko from Tokyo, Japan, who runs a dance company and a dance festival called Scrum, which is opening, pretty much in a week or 2 as well. So lots more amazing artists to speak with. Thank you, Jess.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.